Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back. I always appreciate your presence. Today is April the 24th, 2024. I have several news update to share with you in a reading, plus on the videos I selected for you today. So the war in Amara and in Oromia region of Ethiopia still continue. Is no sign of quieting down. Still, so many people getting killed, and in Oromia is a new operation announced by PP to eliminate Oromo Liberation Front within 40 days. So there's a new intensive military operation against Oromo Liberation Army. Uh, we'll see if they can be successful. The same kind of announcement happened before to complete, to eradicate Oromo Liberation Army within weeks, within 3 months. It didn't work. So we'll see if this round of commitment from PP will be successful or will be defeated by Oromo Liberation Army. So the conflict is still effective in Amara region uh, and in Oromia region. So I have several other news update to share with you. And the U.S. State Department, every year they will release a report on human rights around the world. So there is a report on Ethiopia, which contains so many issues like torture, uh, other cruel, inhumane, degrading treatment and punishment, condition of arbitrary arrest. Uh, it covers a lot of conditions. So it got 68 pages. If you wanna read or print out, keep it for record. You will have it on their website, U.S. State Department. This is an annual report on Ethiopia, Eritrea, and other countries. So if I have time today, I will share some of the report presented on Ethiopia, but we'll see. But that's the update. So the report is out for 2023 on Ethiopia. If you are interested on Eritrea, it's also there. Let me read the news. This one is announced today by Ethiopian Security Council. I have its translation thanks to Addis Standard. Security Council vows to resolve extremist political views, organized crime, and robbery emerging in some areas in Ethiopia. The National Security Council, NSC, comprised of members of the army, intelligence, said the government is determined to root out, in quotation, extremist political views, organized crimes, and robbery interests, end of quotation, that are, in quotation again, emerging in some areas. In quotation, the government is doing extensive work to control these activities that are disturbing public peace in both rural and urban areas, end of quotation. said a statement released by the Council after a meeting held today, which was chaired by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. In quotation, part of this work is improving law enforcement institutions and strengthening their coordination and ties with the people. End of quotation. The Council's statement came amidst reports of widespread practice of abduction for ransom and robbery by armed elements in various parts of the country. The Council said, as part of tackling the problem in rural districts and villages, in quotation, residents will be properly trained to maintain local peace, end of quotation, as part of the government's effort to maintain peace and security. While praising initiatives in some regions, it highlighted that a country that is, in quotation, vast and densely populated, end of quotation, like Ethiopia, local militias and other supporting peacekeeping organizational structures play an important role in maintaining peace and order at the local levels. Regional state police forces are carrying out, in quotation, their constitutional mandate properly, end of quotation, in coordination with local militias, while institutions building reform is underway to enable the federal police to fulfill its responsibility of maintaining domestic peace and law. So I'm just reading what they announced, but in reality, the most troublemakers are these the country run by these security institutions, police and local militia. They are not respecting the constitution. They are the troublemakers. They are the one creating all these problems. If they respect the constitution, Ethiopians are peaceful people. They will not create any problem. But the problem is the government, the structure, the police, and this Korena Genya. But I'll read whatever they say for your information. But we know the reality is on the contrary. The National Defense Force is carrying out its duties on maintaining peace and enforcing the law, where there is a threat beyond these law enforcement institutions. The Council credited the existence of this security structure and the people's coordination for foiling forces, in quotation, that wanted to overthrow the regional government and seize power by force in the Amara region, end of quotation, and by saving, in quotation again, the state government and the constitutional order. Similarly, the Council says in the Oromia region, the widespread activities of armed forces and, in quotation, the tendency to control some districts have been reversed, while the security and the safety situation in the Benishangul Gumuz region has improved significantly. In the capital Addis Ababa and the other big cities of the country, security forces thwarted the plans by forces, in quotation, to carry out various terrorist attacks, end of quotation. In the terrorist attacks. However, the Council said that peaceful political transition must be deployed as, in quotation, a tool to achieve other goals, end of quotation, and highlighted that currently 3 policy approaches are being pursued by the government as part of the solutions, in quotation, to repair and solve Ethiopia's existing political problems, end of quotation. The National Dialogue Commission, the Transitional Justice Policy, and the National Rehabilitation Commission, NDC. The Council emphasized that while the Dialogue Commission and the Transitional Justice approach are key to solving the country's, in quotation, existing national problems, there should also be, in quotation again, peaceful political approach to overcome the challenges of conflict and war, end of quotation, which highlights the important works of the Rehabilitation Commission, especially in works related to disarmament and the reintegration of armed combatants. In quotation, the history of Ethiopia, civil conflicts and wars have occurred repeatedly. We have suffered heavy losses as a country in these wars. The reason for this is that we do not have much political practice in resolving conflict through dialogue and agreement. What we are used to is building monument on the graves of our enemies. The Council praised the November 2022 Pretoria Agreement between the federal government and the TPLF for contributing to changing this practice and bringing, in quotation again, a culture of ending war through political solutions. End of quotation. However, it cautioned that save for the achievement so far achieved, in quotation, there is still work to be done, end of quotation. And I said, in quotation again, in particular, the TPLF militants must disarm. According to the agreement, the Council also cited the Pretoria Agreement and the country's constitution to highlight that there should be, in quotation, only one defense force, end of quotation. It also said that works that are started to restore and resettle the internally displaced persons, in quotation, must be completed. It warning unarmed actors, it warning unnamed actors who, it said, in quotation, sometimes even use force to prevent the return of the displaced, end of quotation. The Council also warned, in quotation, not learning from a past mistake is worse than making the initial mistake, end of quotation, and emphasized on the need to work together to hold, in quotation, those who continue to create the same problems today, end of quotation, accountable. In quotation again, we should learn the dire consequences of law enforcement after patience from our recent history, end of quotation. The Council admitted that while important works in the area of, in quotation, law enforcement, end of quotation, were done across many areas in Ethiopia, including welcoming and reintegrating armed militants who wanted to, in quotation, return from the path of destruction and join the society and lead a peaceful life, end of quotation. More works remain. It mentioned that, in quotation, tens of thousands of militants, end of quotation, have surrendered their arms in regions including Benishangul Gumuz, Amara, and Oromia regions, have received rehabilitation training and were made to join the community. In quotation, we will continue to strengthen these by coordinating with the regions through the rehabilitation commissions, end of quotation. It says, and called on elders and religious leaders to support the effort. That is in quotation. The council warned that, in quotation, war bankrupts us all, end of quotation, and that peace benefits all, and called on Ethiopians to, in quotation, to learn from the past, understand our context and the context of our time, and move forward with our vision and agenda. Credit at this standard. So it's just, these are uh, probably written by Prime Minister. He knows how to write these things, but he don't know how to put it in practice. He's saying something, but in action, he just carrying out whatever comes to his mind. You probably listen to uh, the OLF army head, Jalmarro, and his deputy discussing why the Tanzania peace deal failed. You know, when you see these words, what the council is saying, these are nice words to reconcile, to create peace in the country. But when it comes to reality, resolving the country's issue, no. That arrangement, that peace talk failed because of this prime minister. He wanted just to give a little bit power for those army heads, for Jalmarro and his deputy plus others, and dismantle the rest of OLF army members. It doesn't work like that. These people, they didn't fight for their own power. They have legitimate concern in Oromia. People are dying. People are in mass detention camps. And according to even the State Department report, people are put in schools, public housing, and in residential buildings. So there is no enough prison cells. Thousands of people are just detained and kept in schools and private house and make over shift. So shelters, make over shelters. So what is they are talking is nice for publicity for international community to cheat, not to solve the country's problem seriously. So that's anyway their statement. And this council, Security Council members include Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Deputy Prime Minister Tamasgen Turune, Leggasa Tullu, and General Branu Jula, Taye Asqaselase, Foreign Minister, Dr. Abraha Balai, Defense Minister, Mr. Adam Farah, Redwan Hussein. These are the core people deciding on the lives of Ethiopians, and they are responsible for all crises and abuses and disrespect for the country's constitution happening in Ethiopia, and for the war crimes committed in Tigray. But they are just keep repeating the same crime in Amara region, in Oromia region, because there is no responsibility. But they are responsible when the times comes. This one from another prosperity body, the National Dialogue Commission, inviting armed groups to negotiation, assures security guarantees. Really? Yeah. How can you be assured security guarantees when an armed individual, politician like Bate Urgesa, assassinated and his body is thrown into the trash? Unarmed, and you calling armed individuals under groups to come and participate in a peace discussion in the condition which is not right. So, but anyway, let me read what it says. This is from the National Dialogue Commission of Ethiopia has extended an invitation to armed groups to engage in the nation's dialogue process, offering, in quotation, assurance of security, end of quotation, for participants who choose to join. Addressing community representatives from the Oromia region gathered in Shashamane city, Commissioner Professor Masfun Araya urged armed entities to seize the opportunity for dialogue. In quotation, we humbly request those involved in armed movement to join the negotiations promptly, end of quotation, he stated, citing the Commission's outreach that indicated a public desire for peace. Deputy Commissioner Hirut Gebrselassie reinforced the commitment to ensuring a secure environment for armed parties that choose to take part in the national dialogue process. These individuals, first of all, they should condemn the killing of Bate Urgesa and others happened in that country, in Ethiopia. Second, they should call on Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed to release OLF political officers still in jail despite the court order to be released. You know, they are already cleared of their crimes, but Prime Minister PP officials are holding. So these, the National Peace Dialogue Commissioners, first they have to show some kind of mercy before they are inviting those who are armed and struggling for freedom. So they have to tell Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his team, please release these individuals who are already cleared by the court and stop the killing squad, Korenegenya. Then people will trust, listen to you, what you are saying. It says this is an opportunity that should be utilized by all segments of society, particularly those engaged in armed struggles, who should come forward and articulate their perspectives. The Commission will facilitate a safe space for their participation, she affirmed. So they are calling on Fano Militia and OLA, Oromo Liberation Army. These are the known armed groups, but they didn't say their names. The Commission has been holding consultative meetings across various regions of Ethiopia, including recently convening representatives from the Oromia region in Shashamane city. Similar consultations are planned for the Amara and the Tigray regions once conditions allow. While appealing for inclusive dialogue, the Commission acknowledged challenges in areas facing security issues and the need to identify and enable the participation of stakeholders from conflict-affected zones. Despite the Commission's call, armed groups have not officially confirmed their involvement in the national consultation process to date. Additionally, opposition parties, including the Oromo Liberation Front, OLF, and the Oromo Federalist Congress, OFC, have opted out of the process, expressing criticism over its approach. That's what I'm saying. First, deal those who are not armed. Convince them, show them you are independent of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, independent of PP influence. But if you don't convince Dr. Marara and David Ibsa, how are you going to convince those armed groups? No way. In a recent interview with Addis Standard, Sultan Qasim, an OFC Executive Committee member expressed criticism, stating that a co-opted national dialogue will not address fundamental political problems. Okay, this one is a joint statement from almost 6 countries, ambassadors from 6 countries expressing their concern in northern part of Ethiopia, especially between Tigray and Amara region. The embassies of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, and the United States in Addis Ababa are concerned by reports of violence in contested areas of northern Ethiopia. It is important for all parties to make progress towards disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration (DDR) and the peaceful return of internally displaced persons. We urge de-escalation and the protection of civilians. Inclusive dialogue among all stakeholders is the only way to address complex political and security crises and ensure lasting peace in Ethiopia. Credit Addis Standard. Yes, there is a concern in that region, and the federal government also warned TPLF to de-escalate. It might, we might see the war again in that region if this contested area is not resolved between Amara region and Tigray region. This one is United States announced significant new military assistance for Ukraine. Press statement, Anthony J. Blinken, Secretary of State. Following passage of the National Security Supplemental, the United States is today announcing a significant new package of weapons and equipment for Ukraine to support the brave Ukrainian people as they defend their country and their freedom against Russia's aggression. This package, which is valued at up to $1 billion, includes urgently needed capabilities including air defense missiles, munitions for HIMARS, artillery rounds, armored vehicles, precision aerial munitions, anti-armor weapons, and small arms, equipment, and spare parts to help Ukraine defend its territory and protect its people. We are sending a powerful message today about the power of American leadership as we support Ukraine's fight against Russia's aggression. The United States will continue to work with the coalition of more than 50 countries we have assembled to provide critical support for Ukraine's forces. So that is additional support. The United States and other Western countries are just pouring money, weapons into Ukraine, but so far the country is destroyed by Russian bombardment, and the war has no ending sight. It's the second year maybe now. So this one is the vote conducted at UN today. Russia vetoes a UN resolution calling for the prevention of a dangerous nuclear arms race in space. Russia on Wednesday vetoed a UN resolution sponsored by the United States and Japan calling on all nations to prevent a dangerous nuclear arms race in our in outer space, calling it, in quotation, a dirty spectacle, end of quotation, that cherry picks weapons of mass destruction from all other weapons that should also be banned. The vote in the 15-member Security Council was 13 in favor, Russia opposed, and China abstained. The resolution would have called on all countries not to develop or deploy nuclear arms or other weapons of mass destruction in space as banned under 1967 international treaty that included the US and Russia, and to agree to the need to verify compliance. US Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield said after the vote that Russian President Vladimir Putin has said Moscow has no intention of deploying nuclear weapons in space. In quotation, today's veto begs the question, why? Why? If you are following the rules, would you not support a resolution that reaffirms them? What could you possibly be hiding? End of quotation. She asked that Linda Thomas. It is, in quotation, it is baffling and it is a shame. End of quotation. Russia's UN ambassador Vasily Nebenzia dismissed the resolution as, in quotation, absolutely absurd and politicized, end of quotation, and said it didn't go far enough in banning all types of weapons in space. So this is reported by AP, Associated Press. Oh, we don't know why Russia vetoed this resolution. Maybe there may be an intention to put some weapons of mass destruction over there because of the conflict between Russia and the United States. That's why this conflict in Ukraine keep going. And the issue, if you remember, in Ethiopia, 15 times presented to the Security Council, Russia and China oppose it. Why? There is strong disagreement, internal fighting between the United States and Russia. Unless this is resolved, we will not see any peace in the world, really, when it comes to enforcing the UN Security Council on Gaza. Israel completely destroyed Gaza, and now they are planning to destroy Rafah to kill more people. And today the United States providing more money like a reward for Israel for carrying all that kind of crimes, and Israel is secured because of US support in the UN Security Council. Nothing can happen to Israel. That's why they are carrying out all kind of indiscriminate bombardment in that region. So that's the news sharing with you in reading. I have a couple of videos to share with you. Let's go straight to the videos. So the first video is the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's speech when he was in Gurage zone, calling upon those armed groups to come back instead of fighting in the forest, and instead of abide by those who send them there, who pay them to fight. Instead of doing that, to come out from the forest and join his prosperity party. So he's calling upon them on behalf of Gurage community. He's calling upon them to join in building Ethiopia and prosperity road, instead of divisive politics and locality politics. Just advising them to think bigger and to join his agenda. So that is, in short, the uh, translation of his speech he made in Gurage zone. Let's listen to that. And we don't know who sent them to fight over there. I think this guy is saying whatever comes to his mind, but these people, nobody sent them. The grievances, the killing, the detention, the mass detention, the abuse, the torture happening in Oromia and Amara created these armed groups. So that's the reality, but he's saying maybe some outsiders pay them, send them to the forest to fight him back. I don't know. That is, let's listen to him. It's in Amharic.
በአንዳንድ ስፍራ የምትገኙ ኢትዮጵያውያን ከላካችሁ ኃይል ይልቅ ኢትዮጵያ ትበልጣለች። ከሚከፍሏችሁ ይልቅ ኢትዮጵያ ትበልጣለች። ለኢትዮጵያ አንድነት፣ ለኢትዮጵያ ሰላም፣ ለኢትዮጵያ ብልጽግና በጋራ እንድንቆምና ከከፋፋይ ከሰፈርተኝነት ከመንደር እሳቤ ነፃ ወጥታችሁ ወደ ኢትዮጵያዊነት ከኛ ጋር እንድታድጉ በጉራጌ ሕዝብ ስም ዛሬ ጥሪዬን ላቀርብላችሁ ፈልጋለሁ።
Okay. So this is a very short video.
You can see like the fiberglass or missing.
Thanks, Kareem. The House Speaker is heading to Colombia today. He's calling on the President of Colombia to resign. Does the President...
Let me set up a little bit. Apologies. Oh. There we go.
And what does he think of the way that the administration at Colombia has been handling this?
So, I'm going to be really mindful. Colombia is a private institution. We've been very consistent here about not commenting on personnel.
That is the White House.
That's something for Columbia University, obviously the board, to speak to, and the president, right, to make that decision. So, I'm not going to comment on that. That is obviously the speaker's privilege to speak for himself and what he sees.
So we have a lot of demonstrations.
I would say more broadly, and I said this moments ago, this is a deeply painful moment for many
concerning
communities.
the war in Gaza for
The president
Palestinians.
believes that free speech, debate, and non-discrimination on college campuses are important. They're important American values.
They call them
and that,
Hamas protesters.
And so he'll always be very clear. We will
accusing
always be very
them
clear
of
about that here. But protests must be peaceful. Students must be safe. When we see violent rhetoric, we have to call that out. When we see physical intimidation or grotesque anti-Semitic remarks, we have to speak that out. And you saw that from the president's statement when this president's statement on Passover. He talked about that. He talked about taking action, and making sure that we're calling that out. So we're going to continue to do that forcefully, condemn anti-Semitism from this administration. We're going to continue to do that. We're implementing, as you know, the first ever national strategic effort to counter anti-Semitism, because there should be no place in this country when it relates to that type of hate. We saw what happened in 2017, Charlottesville. That was one of the reasons that this president decided to run in 2020. He ran in 2020 because of what he saw in Charlottesville and what was happening in the streets of Charlottesville, the vile, just hateful rhetoric that we're seeing there. So I think Colombia is going to have to speak to their personnel issues, and what we will speak to is more broadly what we expect and what we want to see, and how painful it is for many communities here.
The United States has offered Israel unconditional financial support for a very, very long time. In recent years, that has amounted to $3.8 billion a year Congress is considering another $14 billion in military aid for Israel, $10 billion of which is completely unrestricted military funding. That unconditional support for the Israeli military must end. Instead of begging Netanyahu's extremist government to protect innocent lives and obey U.S. and international law, our new position must be not another nickel for the Netanyahu government if their present policies
But he's
continue.
the minority, so he didn't succeed. They already approved.
Join the
But he
CNBC
tried.
Investing Club with an opportunity you can't afford
And
to
we
miss.
appreciate him.
Join the club and let me teach you the right way to invest. I prepare like...
This is
The US Senate approved a huge military aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan.
The motion to concur in the House amendment.
Most of the fund, which is about 88 billion euros, is to restock Kyiv's depleted air and battlefield defenses.
Even as Moscow, Beijing, and Tehran grew more convinced that our influence had run its course, and even as loud voices here at home insisted on abandoning the responsibilities of leadership, America stepped up and the Senate held firm.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his gratitude online, saying the vote reinforces America's role as a beacon of democracy. The much-delayed vote was passed by 79 against 18. The aid in Ukraine is desperately needed on the battlefield.
The latest global report on food crisis is a roll call of human failings. In a world of plenty, children are starving to death. Last year, almost 300 million people faced food crisis. The number of people on the cusp of famine doubled to over 700,000, and Gaza has the highest number of people facing catastrophic hunger ever recorded by the Global Report on Food Crisis. Conflict in Sudan has created the world's largest internal displacement crisis. That means hunger and malnutrition for millions, particularly women and children. The global food crisis requires an urgent global response. We must transform food systems, and the data in this report plays a vital role. So does finance. Governments must boost funding for ending hunger by putting our proposals for an SDG stimulus into action in support of developing countries and fully funding humanitarian operations. And they must follow up on the call to action on food systems transformation. With commitment and concerted action, we can create a world where hunger has no home. Let us get going today.
Okay, that is UN chief message on hunger or food crisis in the world. So that's the last video I have for today. Let me give my advice from concerned citizens media to PP if they are listening, anyone listening. If you are, to be credible and to be, acceptable by those opposition parties or armed groups or the society in general, please change your attitude. The attitude is just you can survive by using undercover operatives, defense force, police force, local militia. You should change this approach, this criminal approach. You need to stop using Korenagenya or killing squad, and you should, show to the global community the commitment you enter when you come to power in 2018 to respect and abide by the country's constitution. The Ethiopian constitution is the best. So many respect for humanity, for human rights. Nobody can be arrested without warrant, according to Ethiopian constitution. If you are arrested, you have to be brought to justice or court within 48 hours. That's the best. But these all are not happening under Prosperity Party. People are tortured, people are abducted, and the property is confiscated without any warranties, and private properties getting searched, and people are getting assassinated, thrown into forest for wild animals. So all these should stop if you want to, have peaceful transition, justice in that country, and if you want to create a peaceful country, you need to show some gesture, release all these prisoners, all these political prisoners you are housing in known and unknown jail, and you are holding them in schools even, and personal property buildings. So this is shame on Prosperity Party. This is shame on Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who promised a lot of things when he came to power in 2018. Now he hijacked everything, controlled the security, controlled the police, controlled the local militia, and using just a phone call to order them to kill, to detain, to harass Ethiopian citizens. So yeah, they should change their attitude, change their tactics, and change their operations to make Ethiopia is a better place, and to convince those who are armed for reason to come back and join the peaceful discussion which is planned. But we'll see. But that's my take, my message from Concerned Citizens Media to anyone from Prosperity Party might be listening to me. That's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you. Be safe. So long, everyone.